Today it was another truly wonderful day on which my mom decided to introduce us to a new film to watch. She's been on a hunt for a new family movie for forever, but every time she finds one, we all usually go in expecting it to be bad. This year was no exception. We sat down, got our tea, our chicken wings without sesame seeds, like God intended, and on the big screen rolled the titles of the movie. Oh, what fun! And oh, what fun it was. So fun, we dropped it on minute 40 out of 108. We didn't even manage to get through the wonderful exposition. But because I love subjecting myself to copious amounts of pain, I decided to retreat into my corner and finish watching this masterpiece of the 21st century and talk about it. And because there is not a single person on earth willing to listen to my yappery IRL, I resorted to go onto the internet and speak into the void in hopes of actually not being heard. I mean, my only subscribers are my partner and my sister, and they won't manage over 10 minutes into this. So I suppose this is just for me to cleanse my soul of what I have just witnessed. To make any sense out of this, I will first talk about the plot, which I will kindly summarize for you in the first segment. Then we will go to the courtroom and talk about all of the crimes the characters committed. Then I will briefly share everything I liked about the film, and that will bring us to the conclusion. Whew! The film opens with a 5-minute Craft-esque screen that kindly lets us know that it is an Amazon MGM production.
And Holly all around.
Very charming. Then, in the first shot, we instantly meet our protagonist, tortured blonde woman whose name I don't remember. She's pumping gas. And in the car across, she sees another woman arguing with her children. So like an absolute creep, and I can't reiterate enough how much of an absolute creep she is, she approaches the car and asks the woman if she can have a few words with the children. Excuse me? And the woman lets her, and then she tells these children the following.
I just wanted to say that, you really should be nicer to her, okay? Because someday she's going to be dead.
After which she instantly breaks the fourth wall by telling me to not give her that look. Because Scrooge gets famous for, and I quote, for being grumpy around the holidays. And then asks a rhetorical question on if she isn't entitled to one outburst. Excuse me? I know we're only in the summary phase of it all, but I really need you to understand just how dumb this comparison is. Scrooge gets famous for overcoming his grumpiness around the holidays, but even if what she said was true, actually, no, I think I changed my mind. I meditated over it and decided she's entirely right. And, Your Honor, Dexter got famous for killing people, so who are you to say that I'm not allowed to slash someone up every now and then? But I digress. After that, our lovely protagonist, who I will now lovingly name Spatula, because I am really bad with names. Do not let me name my children. So, Spatula goes on a rant about the patriarchy within the movie-making industry, how all movies are about men, and brings up things such as
Christmas Vacation, It's a Wonderful Life, The Santa Claus, Home Alone, Elf, this one, that guy, this guy, him, them, heck.
And I am not very cultured within classical Christmas movies, having grown up Slavic and sheltered from mainstream American culture. But a lot of these movies look like the men in them are not having much fun at all. That guy's getting electrocuted. According to Google, this man killed himself. And isn't there a woman on the cover too? This man is literally a murderer. This child is screaming. That guy just looks retarded as fuck. Regardless, why is the Muppet Christmas Carol on here? Do Muppets reinforce patriarchy? Okay, I will not be the same if it's true. Well, I think you get the gist. Anyways, I don't want to seem like diversity in movies is unimportant. I think she's making a fair point in what she's trying to say, but, and there is always a but, I also think the execution is stupid, and we'll talk about it in another segment in more detail. So just put an asterisk over it in your little mind. So back to the movie. Spatula is telling us that Christmas is her absolute favorite holiday on planet Earth, and she's getting ready for it since January 1st. And my dumbest first thought she was getting ready for the Christmas that just passed, and I was like, what? But no, she's getting ready for the next one. So that's cleared up. And one thing that Spatula loves in equal measure to Christmas is her TV program, that is the Zazie Teams show. Zazie to me sounds like one of those terrible gender-neutral parental pronouns from TikTok.
Instead of using the typical mom and dad parent titles, there's actually gender-neutral and non-binary parent titles that exist. Here are some examples. Pom-pom, Zaz.
So I'll lean into it and call it the Zaza Show. This Zaza Show, which irrelevantly is a cooking program, is hosting a contest in which kids can nominate their moms, the prize of which is an all-paid-for trip to Burbank to be on her show. And Spatula is dying to participate in this contest. That's her biggest wish ever, and she's been spam texting her kids the link to the thing. From this point on, a bunch of characters will get introduced to us rapid fire, so it will be helpful to utilize a tree to help us demonstrate them. I can't keep names in mind, even though I'm sure they have them. I will give them the honor of naming them myself. First, we get to know Spatula's husband, RB, which stands for Right Booty Cheek. RB is currently starting to assemble a Barbie dream house, which the exposition tells us he started on too late. But RB is overconfident. The first to arrive are Fork, Spatula's eldest daughter, and Fork's husband, Oyster Fork, who have 2 children, Child and Spare Child. Apparently Fork is having tensions with Spatula, we don't know why, and we also find out Fork is a writer. Then, we unfortunately get introduced to the next child of Spatula's, Yorshik. If you know, you know. The whole family was waiting for him to introduce them to his girlfriend, Maybell, spelled M-A-E/B-E-L-L. But apparently they broke up. Boo-hoo. Just let me show you the scene so you understand my hatred for Yorshik.
I'm not going.
What? Why?
For one, I want to go to Los Angeles to see my family.
You see your family all the time.
And two, I think we should break up.
Okay. Is there a third thing?
I know this is not what you expected.
I can't believe you're doing this. We had sex last night.
I don't really see how that's relevant.
We had sex this morning.
Okay. I don't even... And then we get slam dunked with this killer scene.
Welcome home, Uncle Sammy, if you want.
Nope. No way in hell. Anyways, we get saved by our token gay characters arriving, the middle child, Tusk, and her current girlfriend. And I kid you not, DJ Sweatpants. DJ Sweatpants. That's not even me. That's how she's introduced in the film.
My girlfriend, DJ Sweatpants.
I will not say that ever again, so I will just call her Billy, because I find that to be a way more acceptable way to refer to someone. Oh, and apparently Tusk brings a new girl every Christmas. The more you know. After that disaster, we get introduced to the family next door, the Wassermans, and they refer to them like really weirdly throughout the movie. They refer to them like Wassermans, but as a person who grew up in a German-speaking country, I know my heritage is confusing. It's Wassermans. Or like, if it's plural, Wassermänner or some shit, I don't know. But anyways, I will not say their last name ever again, but I am just very confused on how to pronounce it properly within the movie's universe. So, they are the rivaling overachievers family. Pardon? The Asian rivaling overachieving family. The mother of the family, Bowl, seems to have some tension with Spatula. I am reading it as romantic tension, but I don't think the filmmakers meant it that way. Bowl has kids of her own, which are mostly plot irrelevant, except Hot Lady. Hot Lady is one of her daughters who is plot relevant. Unfortunately. For some reason, Oyster Fork really wants to be friends with Tusk. I don't know. Apparently, the kids don't like him because he's an only child and has no quote-unquote natural defenses against her kids. Spatula's kids. To which I'm starting to wonder if her kids can, like, shoot out scents like skunks or whatnot. For the future, it would be nice to know how to raise your kids to have those too. Just, like, a few extra glands here and there. Yorshik harasses his ex. Tusk only now informs Spatula that Billy is a vegan, which is a huge bomb to drop when dinner is nearly ready, and so on and so on. Yorshik plays the guitar.
Christmas portrait in a pear tree, a portrait, a portrait, a portrait, a portrait in a pear tree. No.
After dinner, exposition tells us that Spatula is doing all the work while her kids and her husband are all relaxing or minding their own business. Then Spatula finds out that the contest she was so excited for is closed now and nobody nominated her, so she's really sad. Next morning, everyone is doing something, but the only plot relevant thing I can fish out is that Bowl came over with a little gift for Spatula, which is apparently tradition. Bowl got her a monochrome candle. What is a monochrome candle? I did not bother to Google it. Maybe if I Google it in post, I will post an explanation on the screen, but for now I have no idea what a monochrome candle is. Which is the same candle as Spatula got her, except that Bowl's candle has 3 wicks, and Spatula's has only 1. So Spatula quickly has to change her gift, so despite it being Christmas Eve, she takes Fork and rushes to the store to get a bigger candle for Bowl. And do stores work on, like, Christmas Eve? Well, technically, I mean, if you're in a big city, because they're in Texas, sure, I can imagine that, but here, no chance in hell. Everybody is closed. Except, like, gas stations, maybe, but she's, like, in a big store, and there are a lot of people there. Wild. America is wild. While both Fork and Spatula are at the store shopping for a new candle, Oyster Fork, who is still trying to suck up to Tusk, catches Tusk cheating on her girlfriend with Jean, who isn't a plot-relevant character in itself and who I only gave a name to for the Billie Jean joke. That, though, is not at all the interesting part. Oh no, the interesting part ensues when Spatula finds a 5-wick candle. Glorious. She loves it, but decides that the queue is too long and just walks out with it in broad daylight while Fork is trying to stop her. After being chased by security guards and narrowly escaping, although no, wait, I first need to talk about this.
Want a party, lady? I'll party. Mom! Oh my god! Settle down. Mom, you're gonna mess with the eagle, you gotta learn how to fly.
What? I'm not even gonna mention how the scene is built, but what was her plan? Like, okay, Spatula's plan was something, but what was this guard's plan? Was she just gonna drive head first into Spatula's car?
They're multiplying.
Okay, that was funny. So then her family, all, in a Home Alone ripoff style, leave to the concert without her. Right. There was a concert they were going to, but whatever, it's not important.
Editing me here. Yeah, I completely, for some reason, forgot to mention, but she doesn't even gift the fucking candle to Bowl. She is like, yeah, okay, I can't give the stolen candle to Bowl, so instead she just gives her, like, store-bought chocolates that she pretends she made herself. But we never get a resolution on what happened to the candle. I'm scared.
So she goes inside and has a mental breakdown, which is way funnier in 2 times speed right after the candle hitchhike scene. Then her family notices that she's gone, whatever. So I know that the family is scrambling to go back and Spatula is really upset, but honestly, the concert they're at, fire, 10 out of 10, would go. Where can I buy the ticket? I kinda understand Fork's earlier reservations because of Child and Spare Child being on that concert, but here you go. I filtered out all of the jump cuts to the family to only contain the performance in twice speed. Enjoy. On this positive note, let us continue the torture. So, Spatula, feeling abandoned and underappreciated, deflates all decorum and leaves in the car just before the family comes back. So everyone is panicking, especially King of Incompetence RB. They want to file a missing person report. I mean, it sounds bad, but in the movie they knew she like left on her own accord. Nobody actually, maybe they did actually thought she was like kidnapped, but it was not clear. So the family is fighting badly enough that Billy was gonna leave. Because, so let me explain that real quick. So the family is fighting, and basically Tusk calls Oyster Fork boring, and to kind of counter that, Oyster Fork just straight up blurts out, fuck, sorry, the bottle fell. So the family is fighting, and Oyster Fork was called boring by Tusk and the other siblings. So he, as defense, kind of just blurts out that Tusk is cheating on Billy with Jean. So Billy was gonna leave, and Tusk, explaining herself to Billy, says that she wasn't cheating on Billy. Jean was just there to make Billy a ring for Tusk to propose to her after 3 months of knowing each other, which is honestly peak lesbianism. But sad music plays, they still break up, and I kid you not, the reason why they break up is when Billy, like now it's cleared up, so technically for the plot, it wouldn't make sense for them to break up, but they still needed to break up. I don't know why, just because they couldn't write complex gay characters or whatever. So, I kid you not, Billy tells us that she's old-fashioned because she likes to wake up early and doesn't like to go to parties. Yeah, I was like sitting with that thought, and that still doesn't make much sense to me. Yeah, she was like, Tusk, I thought I could handle you, but I can't. Like, why? Did she like force you to wake up late? I just imagine like Billy wakes up at like 6 a.m. and Tusk is like, no, get back into bed. It's like fucking bitch slapping her back in bed. Anyways, I digress. So Spatula in the meantime goes to a motel. There's only one room, so she has to share a room with the delivery driver girl, who was also in dire need of a place to stay. The delivery driver girl, my favorite character. Just look at her. Delivery driver gets a place of honor.
Plans for Christmas?
Lady, I'm working.
Oh, right, of course. I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me? I love it. I got my true crime podcast. I got my solitude. I even got to see the Grand Canyon, the Carlsbad Caverns, and the world's largest pistachio all in a month. And I got me some good selfies. Come on now, where they do that at? Oh.
Well, unfortunately, Spatula doesn't share my sentiment, so she decides to sleep in the car. But the car gets towed, with her still inside. And then, like a moron, she falls out of the car. Actually, why am I even bothering? None of that matters. All you need to know is that Spatula is having a hard time and her family is having a mixed time. Mixed but complicated, because apparently without Spatula, Christmas just ain't working, and the most of the runtime is busy with a side plot that I loathe. So I will just pretend it isn't there. All while Spatula goes to Burbank and sneaks into the competition she was dying to be in, illegally, but that's kinda her thing now, you know. She literally just confesses to everything on live television to the host, and because it was on live TV, now the neighboring family also knows about what happened. Well, and Spatula's family, obviously. So now all these women complain about being a woman, and I now only realize that you might not be following my Gedankengang, my thought process, so I might have to define who these women are. So basically, when she complained to the host on national TV, so when she complained to Zaza, Zaza actually quite liked her spirit in best Barbie manner. Oh god, they are ripping off Home Alone and Barbie in the same movie. Why? Anyways, so Zaza takes her backstage with all of Zaza's friends. So all these women complain about being a woman, peak Barbie style, like just having monologues while drinking and smoking weed, so a bit different from Barbie because I guess they couldn't just rip it off completely. Oh, it's a doozy to get through. I am fortunately not a mom, yet what I am is a Slavic gay girl that lives in a German-speaking country. So in a different segment of this video, we will talk about just why these scenes fall so incredibly flat. After seeing her on national TV, her family flies over to Burbank. Actually, that's what you would like to think, but no, they were flown over by the Zaza Show people. Because their incompetence knows no bounds. On the flight, they all semi-apologize to each other. They try to make comedic exposition out of it, but it doesn't really work. So, whatever. Spatula, meanwhile, is invited onto a Zaza Show podcast, after which she is surprised by her family entering the show. That's all sweet and dandy, but Spatula still isn't too forgiving, so she storms off, chased by Fork. Fork gives an emotional monologue and everything is alright now, so now the entire family obviously reunites. Tusk and Oyster Fork's rivalry got resolved within like 2 seconds of Oyster Fork's improv dance. I kid you not. Tusk was super mad at him because he ruined a relationship right before she was about to propose, and her girlfriend left and will never return, and they got their resolution because Oyster Fork made like an improv dance or whatever. Okay. Maybelle. Maybelle. Maybelle makes a second appearance, and we get a second actually funny moment in this film.
It's just, Sammy, I wish I knew how to quit you.
Isn't that from Brokeback Mountain?
It doesn't matter.
But oh well, then Hot Lady texts him, so he rejects Maybelle. Then we get a very out of place time skip to 1 year later. So obviously things are fine and dandy, now everyone is helping Spatula out, the end. And I left out a very time-consuming side plot, and I am not sure I will bring it up. I don't want to, but yeah, I'll probably bring it up in another segment. This is not it. This is not it. Oh my. I don't even know where to start. Okay, no, I do. Let's start with the fact that I know this is a comedy, okay? But I want to take it seriously, and nobody will be able to stop me at my channel. What are you gonna do? For starters, I'd like to cover the elephant in the room, and that is the themes, or rather their portrayal. It was glaringly obvious that the movie was parroting Barbie and its virality, and just like in Barbie, the dialogue in this movie feels just as hollow. We get multiple scenes of Spatula reciting back to us what is happening in the movie at the moment, instead of showing it. Show don't tell is the golden rule of storytelling, and it just keeps telling and telling and telling and never actually showing, or even worse, showing, then showing it again, and then telling you about it too. Like, come on, there is literally 3 scenes at least, and now that I'm counting them in my head, it's way more than 3, in which Spatula is just monologuing back the first moments of the movie to someone. She just keeps going on and on. The first time is a guy at the gas stop that I didn't mention because it was irrelevant. The delivery driver in the motel. Then she monologues the same thing to the Zaza Show host. Then to the Zaza Show host and Zaza host's friends. Then she goes and does the Zaza Show interview to reiterate the same goddamn point again. Man, is it rough. And despite the amount of times this rhetoric is recited, it never actually adds nuance to the conversation. Not only have you dumbed down the issue of feminism 101, but you have erased everything of actual substance within the show. I don't have any Christmas movies at the top of my mind that did it well, but to mind comes the substance. The substance in my eyes is a masterpiece. It takes a very simple concept and comments on it without telling you about what it is doing in a way that is not only engaging, but like it's hella clever and actually raises the topic with it. It raises the topic with so much more nuance and care for the subject matter. For example, within the substance, what they are trying to talk about is how women fear aging, which is a very simple concept, and people talk about it. So if you just had a woman in the movie that kept being like, I'm afraid of aging, I'm so scared of aging, but I should love myself just the way I am, but like I'm so scared of aging, and that the like Barbie-esque monologue, it just would not be as impactful as the substance was, because it never told you what it was about, but it raised it in such a disturbing, clever manner without dumbing it down, that it raised the topic in a new and interesting light. And I feel that this nuance, well, I think it could be raised in a comedy drama, absolutely. It isn't a genre shortcoming. I think this nuance just isn't conveyable by having a character continuously recite an action representative of the issue over and over again. It dumbs everything down for the viewer, and it really doesn't pose anything new for thought. It doesn't raise awareness like it thinks it does. It is just hollow. Not only is it hollow, shallow, and every other adjective that describes a state of lacking in nuance. I would analyze the individual cases of such, but I really can't be bothered. The second thing I'd like to bring up is the queer representation, on which the film also falls flat, and as a lesbian myself, now I can attest to one thing that I am qualified on: gay people. And I think that to best explain my main problem and issue with actually all of the above, I will compare it to Barbie. For that, let me introduce you to commodified progressivism. This is when a film uses social justice themes, not to challenge the audience, but to brand the movie as modern and morally correct. When a corporation uses a social critique to sell a product, the critique loses its teeth, which is the commercialization of radicalism. In Barbie, the film critiques impossible beauty standards while being funded by the company that popularized them. The monologue feels like a PR shield. So if the movie admits it's hard to be a woman, you won't be able to criticize the brand for its role in making it hard to be a woman. Then in Oh What Fun, you have the Amazon Christmas aesthetic. In Oh What Fun, diversity is treated like tinsel. It's an aesthetic choice to make the product look current on a streaming homepage. And the issue with that, if you haven't noticed yet, is because the primary goal is to be a global crowd pleaser, the message is sanded down until it's smooth, safe, and ultimately hollow. Whether you're a conservative or a Democrat, a man or a woman, or an American or normal, it doesn't matter. You won't be able to connect with it. And then it tries to speak for everyone and ends up speaking for no one, which is the monolith problem. In Barbie, the monologue addresses womanhood as a singular middle-class experience. It ignores how race, disability, or class change those double binds. Basically, it's feminism for beginners. And in Oh What Fun, you have the interchangeable queer, which is, in this case, parallel to the generic woman of Barbie. The queer character is defined by the broad Gen Z tropes, veganism, messy dating, rather than a unique personality. And I just want to tell that I have absolutely nothing against vegans, as is, but they are not using it as a character trait, they are using it as a character definition. So your character is vegan. It's not your character happens to be vegan, it's your character is vegan, and I don't know how differently to explain this difference between the two. And the result of that is that when you remove the specific messy details of a human life to make a character relatable, to the widest possible audience, you end up with a caricature. It feels shallow because real life is way more complicated than a list of like grievances. You just make a shopping list and you build a character out of it, and that is not how real people work. And the difference between a movie that makes you feel and that tells you how to feel is the instructional versus the emotional narrative. Both Barbie and Oh What Fun suffer from the TED Talk effect, from expository activism. Instead of showing a character struggle through their choices and actions, the movie hits pause and has a character deliver a speech or a witty one-liner that explains the theme. And this results in the film treating its audience like students in a lecture hall. Not even students in a lecture hall, my physics teacher does a better job at creating suspense. It's condescending. It just assumes that you aren't smart enough to see subtext unless it's shouted at you. And as a queer person, my opinion on this will forever remain. I won't water myself down to make me easier to swallow. They can choke. And choke they will, because God forbid the director sees an actual multidimensional person. They might get a stroke. You can't just hide behind a comedy label to excuse poor writing. I'm sorry, mate, but the only joke in this whole movie is the one it took your mom 9 months to make, and I'm starting to think she wasn't a very good comedian either. Oh man. Now that the elephant is out of the china shop, let us assess the collateral damage in form of some character analysis. And I will not analyze every single character, because I am not that hobbylos, but I will analyze the ones which I find to be interesting. I think we should start with the obvious one, Spatula. Whee! To the courtroom we go. All rise. Court is now in session. You may be seated. We are here to hear The People versus Spatula. The charges allege a pattern of conduct that is not only legally questionable, but morally culpable. Prosecution, you may proceed. Thank you, Your Honor. The defense wants you to see a mom on a break. The evidence shows a series of criminal and ethically bankrupt choices. Let's start with the hard facts. The candle. Objection! It was a momentary lapse in judgment due to extreme holiday fatigue. Overruled. It is a retail theft. Proceed. Miss Spatula, let's talk about the retail outlet. You intentionally took a large candle, hid it, and walked out without paying. Why? Because my neighbor, Bo, always has to have the best gifts. I was tired of waiting in line for 45 minutes just to feel good enough. So you felt your neighbor's social standing was a valid legal justification for theft. And when mall security attempted to do their jobs, you fled? I didn't flee. I navigated an exit quickly. You evaded authorized security personnel to escape the consequences of a crime. Let's move to the road. You drove away from your family on Christmas Eve. We have reports of reckless driving. I was just driving. I was finally free. You were driving erratically enough to cause a public safety hazard, and you did all this without a single text or phone call to your children, correct? They should have known I needed a break. They didn't know you needed a break. They thought you were missing because of your lack of communication. Your family contacted the authorities. You caused a massive waste of police resources on Christmas Eve. Resources that could have been used for actual emergencies. I just wanted to be missed. You wanted to be missed, so you harassed children at a gas station to vent your frustrations. And then, to top it off, you committed a trespass. Objection! The Zaza show welcomed the drama. Overruled. The defendant entered a live production studio without an invite, a booking, or authorization. She crashed a live taping. That is unauthorized access, Your Honor. She then used that platform to curse and air private grievances on national television. Your Honor, the defense relies on the Barbie defense. That's because life is hard for women, the law doesn't apply. But the evidence is clear. Spatula is a shoplifter who evades security. She is a reckless driver who wastes police time. She's a trespasser who treats her family's panic as a vanity project. Her empowerment is just a series of misdemeanors. This is a woman who was pushed to the edge. The crime here isn't shoplifting a candle. It's society that expects her to be a holiday robot. Her outbursts on TV wasn't a crime. It was the First Amendment in action. She didn't mean to waste police resources. She just wanted to be seen. Miss Spatula, please stand. While I recognize the mental load of the holidays is real, the law does not recognize neighbor envy as a defense for larceny. Your choice to leave your family in a state of terror while you chased a TV spot with Zaza shows a profound lack of moral character. You didn't just break the law, you broke the trust of your family for the sake of a live audience's applause. On the counts of theft and shoplifting, we find the defendant guilty. On the counts of evading security, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of wasting police resources, we found the defendant guilty. On the counts of trespassing, we found the defendant guilty. Therefore, the defendant shall be sentenced to the electric chair. Court is adjourned. Oh man. Moving on to the next case is the relationship of Yorshik and Hot Lady. And yes, they do have a relationship, which is exactly the side plot that I have been evading. All rise. The High Court of whatever is now in session. The Honorable Judge Bartholomew presiding. Today's docket, a felony charge of thematic sabotage against the romantic subplot of Oh What Fun. You may be seated. This is a bench trial regarding the alleged narrative crime committed against the characters of Hot Lady. Prosecution, you have the floor. Your Honor, we are here to discuss a parasite masquerading as a love interest. Yorshik is a man-child of the highest order. He is jobless, aimless, and possesses the emotional depth of a puddle of mid-July. Our evidence shows that Yorshik's only history of commitment was a relationship built purely on sexual gratification. He doesn't want a partner, he wants a host. By the time the credits roll, Hot Lady is essentially trapped. This film claims a woman found her voice, but how can we hear her voice over the sound of Hot Lady carrying Yorshik's dead weight? This isn't a romance, it's a hostage situation. He uses weaponized incompetence as a shield to avoid responsibility, forcing Hot Lady to settle for a project rather than a peer. We move for a conviction on all counts. Objection to the parasite characterization, Your Honor. My client, Yorshik, represents the relaxed archetype. In a high-stakes, high-stress world, Yorshik provides Hot Lady with an escape from the pressures of perfection. Is he jobless? Currently, yes. But is he low stakes? Absolutely. Hot Lady is a high achiever who spends her life under a microscope. Yorshik offers her a life without judgment, where she doesn't have to be on all the time. He isn't holding her back, he's giving her a place to land. He isn't a parasite, he's a weighted blanket. The prosecution calls it settling, we call it prioritizing peace over prestige. Hot Lady chose him because, for the first time, she wasn't being graded on her performance. A weighted blanket? Your Honor, a weighted blanket doesn't require health insurance and a chore chart. Let the records show that the peace the defense mentions, it's actually just the silence of Hot Lady doing all the mental labor. When Yorshik fails to perform a basic adult task, Hot Lady steps in. This is a documented cycle. Number 1 of this cycle is the request. Hot Lady asks for basic participation. Number 2 is the failure. Yorshik performs the task so poorly it's unusable. And number 3 is the result. Hot Lady does it herself to save time. This isn't peace, this is the systematic erosion of a smart woman's standard. I have heard enough. The court finds the defense's weighted blanket argument thin. While the genre of romantic comedy often relies on the opposites attract trope, there is a legal limit to how much narrative slack a character can be given before they become a vacuum. Hot Lady is established as a woman of agency and high competence. For her to find her voice, only to use that voice to say, I guess this jobless man who didn't respect his ex is fine is the thematic contradiction. By rewarding Yorshik's lack of growth with a woman of hot lady's caliber, the film tells the audience that women are responsible for the rehabilitation of mediocre men. This is a violation of the Protagonist Empowerment Act. On the charge of narrative parasitism, the court finds the defendant guilty. On the charge of thematic sabotage, the court finds the defendant guilty. Thus, the defendant is hereby sentenced to death by suffocation by a garden hose. Court is adjourned. Next case, you may be seated. This is a bench trial regarding the alleged queer representation crime committed within Oh What Fun. Prosecution, you may proceed. Your Honor, we charge the film with aggravated tokenism and character negligence. The defense will point out that Tusk as a win for visibility. We call it a lesbian advent calendar. The film treats Tusk's queerness as a punchline. She's a love addict whose primary narrative function is to show up with a girlfriend of the month to shock her suburban parents. It is the definition of nonchalant queerness gone wrong, where the character is gay but has zero interiority, a weak romantic arc with Billy, and is ultimately used as a background texture rather than a person. We move to declare this representation counterfeit. Objection! The prosecution is stuck in the 90s. We're in 2025. Queerness doesn't need to be a very special episode. Tusk is a cool queer character who exists within the family dynamic without trauma. She isn't being kicked out, she's being annoying, just like her straight siblings. That is the ultimate equality. Furthermore, we provided a diverse cast with Devery Jacobs and Havana Rose Leo. The fact that Tusk is emotionally avoidant makes her a complex human, not a token. We argue that boring representation is actually a sign of progress. Your Honor, look at the evidence. The revolving door of girlfriends isn't a character trait, it's a way for the writers to avoid writing a real relationship. It keeps the queer character in a state of perpetual introduction, so they never have to deal with actual intimacy or plot relevance. Even the proposal twist where Tusk reveals she was buying a ring is a cheap narrative trick to make us sympathize with a character that the film has spent 90 minutes making unlikable. It's representation light. All of the labels, none of the labor. This court recognizes that there is a fine line between normalized representation and narrative laziness. While it is refreshing to see a queer character in a Texas-set family comedy with a tragic coming-out arc, the court finds that Tusk's character is indeed underserved. Using a queer identity as a running joke regarding relationship instability borders on a tired stereotype. However, the presence of actors like Devery Jacobs and the casual nature of the inclusion prevents this from being a total crime. It is instead a narrative misdemeanor. On the counts of tokenism, the court finds the defendant not guilty by a slim margin. On the charge of laziness, the court finds the defendant guilty. Therefore, the writers are sentenced to watch Happiest Season and Bottoms on a loop until they learn how to give a queer supporting character a personality that does not involve bringing home a vegan. Court is adjourned. Alright, so now that the verdicts have been read, we shall move on from the court of crime to things that are not quite crimes, but just why? Why are they red? Holy shit, who color graded it? Why are they red? And on this note, I wrap up the legal part of the sins this movie has committed, and we move on to the next segment. In this segment, I'll share all of the moments I liked about the movie. This is why this segment is so slim. I like the actors, duh. My favorite character remains the food delivery girl from the motel. She's an icon. Other than that, it was meh. It was a mediocre experience at best. Electric chair.